Welcome to Longing Mind, a podcast encouraging you to explore your curiosity for yourself, others, and the world around you. I'm your host, Alexa Juvan. And this past weekend, I went to Anime NYC. I had the absolute best time. For those who don't know, Anime NYC is a huge convention held at the Javits Center, celebrating all things anime. There were special events, panels, activations, cosplay meetups, a floor dedicated to gaming, and an absolutely massive artist alley, which is where I ended up spending most of my time and money. My step count went insane, my credit card was working overtime, I was severely dehydrated and very overstimulated by my wig, but overall, the vibes were incredibly high. And so much happened that I felt inspired to share my experience about attending the con. The convention also had me thinking a lot about connection and conventions in the social sense. Isn't it wild that the word convention means two different things depending on the context? Today I'll be chatting through all these topics. If you haven't already, be sure to follow the pod on Spotify and catch new episodes every Tuesday. Alright, let's get into it. Now, in terms of my overall ANYC experience, I had a great time, but that's considering that my primary focus was Artist Alley. I think no matter what, being able to cosplay, enjoy the energy of the con is a good time for me. I got to hang out with a lot of friends and even see a group of my friends perform at the Cosplay Masquerade on Saturday. So it was a chance to see so many creative, well-crafted cosplays that a good time was pretty much guaranteed. I guess the main pros. I had a 4-day pass, but I only attended on Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I say only, knowing that that is still a significant amount of days to attend the con. I'm still really grateful that I was able to make it there for that many days. But even with that being said, I did not end up going to any of the panels, so I can't comment on those. But through the grapevine and from other friends, I heard that the panel selection this year was a little bit lackluster, and there weren't as many panels of interest this year. So I'm hoping that in the future there are more of them that are, I guess, higher quality, higher caliber, and that I'll be able to actually attend them. From the moment you entered the venue, security on the days that I went felt pretty smooth. I almost think it was like too breezy. They weren't checking everyone's bags, only like everyone had to go through a scanner. They were taking a look at the front and back of your badges. Something about too quick of a trip through security sometimes gets me anxious because I'm like, okay, I trust myself, but I don't know. There's so many people that are going to be in close proximity in this venue. Maybe it would behoove you to do a couple of checks in bags. Other than that, I think line management wise, everything was moving really well, regardless of if you were entering from the front entrance or the side entrance down the ramp. There was just constant flow. There was not really any holdup or backup getting into the venue, so 10 out of 10 on that front. I'd say for the convention itself, it was very focused on vendors and money makers, essentially. I noticed that in the main exhibit hall, there were not as many interactive booths or opportunities for like engaging in a non-paid way. I was actually kind of disappointed that there weren't some more, I don't know, large-scale photo ops or maybe more displays, more information or more immersive experiences pertaining to certain franchises. It felt pretty lackluster in that regard. I think the overall value you're getting is not commensurate with the cost of the badge, because you're basically paying money to spend a ton of money once you're in the con, and I just don't think it's fair for the badge price to have increased so astronomically over the years. I think I read an article saying that ever since the first ANYC, the badge price has pretty much tripled for the multi-day experience, so like the 3-day, 4-day that it is now. So I feel like if we're paying that much more, along with inflation and so many other things to worry about at this point, there should at least be some more benefits to entry, aside from just getting access to the existing panels, the existing convention floor. Like, please give us something. Even more freebies. I don't know. I feel like it was a little sparse. Another thing I noticed was there was a really big focus on Vtubers. And though I am not the audience for that, I think it was so interesting to see how big the VTuber audience is. Because there was I believe it's called a Hollow Live section, pretty close to the main entrance into Artist Alley in the exhibition hall. And there was always a huge crowd gathered around the screens with the featured VTubers of the hour. I think it's really cool that people with that shared VTuber interest have a good means of seeing them all. I just wish that section closest to the entrance wasn't where they congregated, because sometimes it just made it really difficult to navigate around the big crowd of people. And then speaking of VTubers, I actually had a fun VTuber moment. On Sunday, I was filming some cute little dance videos with friends in a corner, and around the corner came this VTuber. And what I mean by that is, I don't know if you're listening and you've been to Heidi Lau or any of those hot pot places with the automated robot that brings food to your table. So it kind of looked like that. It was a screen on wheels and the VTuber was displayed on it. So when the VTuber turned the corner and looked at us, you can see it paused for a second, and then she kind of like waved, and then we were able to wave and gesture back, and we were like, "Hey, can you hear us?" And she was like, "Yeah, oh my god, hey, what's up?" So we were able to have a cute little interaction with the VTuber while she was rolling through the con. I thought that was just so novel and adorable. Like, what a wholesome interaction. Her handler was also super nice. He was helping usher her into the elevator. It was definitely a first. But yeah, super down with the VTubers. Another general overarching comment was, in Artist Alley, I appreciated the amount of original graphic novels and original artwork that people were creating. I think this is really refreshing, because I was noticing some characters and shows that were just getting a little bit too saturated across the board within the alley. I know that the whole point is to make products that are going to sell and that have a really established fan base, but I was also looking for like Ghibli artwork or like a Ghibli keychain for a friend, and there was a shockingly low amount of Ghibli anything, which was kind of surprising to me, because in past years at ANYC, I feel like more of the artists had that as like a baseline. There was always something, but not this year. So just was interesting to note. But overall, I think the Artist Alley was one of the strongest this year. There was such a vast range of artists, styles, materials. It was, one, really overwhelming, the size of the alley this year, but two, really, I don't know, exciting to just process how many artists there are who were able to develop so many interesting designs and so many creative expressions for the same characters and shows. Like, on the other side of there being a lot of similar characters, let's say, seeing the way that many artists chose to interpret them or reflect them in their artwork was super, super cool. I always love Artist Alley. It's like one of my favorite things about Anime NYC or going to cons. Now, for the food, I personally didn't try the food because at any con, it's going to be overpriced. I personally try to eat before and after the con and bring in a ton of snacks. I brought in iced coffee, just tried to take in as much as I could to avoid paying those insane inflated prices. After going to Anime NYC in 2024, I was there for 3 days, and I learned the importance of pacing, number one, and second, of being well fed, because if you are not fueling well, then you are going to be exhausted a few hours into the day, and that is going to take you out, especially when there's so much walking, there's so much interacting with people, you're talking, you're socializing, you're maybe playing DDR, and it can really take so much out of you. So the importance of rest and spacing things out. Also, speaking of the food section, the AI poster situation was pretty abysmal. So many of the food vendors were using these nasty AI slop posters, and I think it's kind of crazy to see those posters right across from beautiful human-made art and artists that are vending, especially when ANYC has given a stance that, they are anti-AI in terms of their artists, but then for the food vendors to roll up with all this nasty ass signage, it's not a good combination. Now, in terms of my day-by-day breakdown, I'm going to walk you through my experience Thursday through Sunday. So strap in, get a bev. So first off, on Thursday, overall, this was the first day of the con. It was really pleasant. If you want a more relaxed shopping experience, definitely go on Thursday. I did not cosplay that day. I came in as a lazy Pokemon trainer, which means I had my Psyduck plushie on me. I was in like streetwear because the main goal was to scope out Artist Alley, meet up with friends, and just see what the vibe is. Most of the time, I'm just happy to be in the room when it comes to first day of a con. On Thursday, I was able to check out the main display floor, like a couple of columns of Artist Alley, really combing through and going slow. And I briefly went to the gaming floor. It was nice just to test things out. I was able to play a rhythm game with my friend Amanda. It was this really adorable frog rhythm game. I just love the visuals, so that was a fun time. Then on Friday, I didn't go to the con, but I did have a Bruno Mars concert that evening, which was incredible. Oh, I love Bruno. He is one of my favorite live performers. There are so few people who can sing, dance, and perform to the level that he does. So I've seen him in Vegas twice, once with Silk Sonic and then once as a solo show. Then this would be the third time that I've seen him in my life, and it's just, my soul ascends when I hear his music, and it was just a great time. But on Friday, during the daytime, I did take a little trip to the Dollar Tree because I needed gold poster paper in order to craft something for my cosplay. So I purchased that, some glue sticks, and a permanent marker, then made my way home. Saturday was my first day at the con in like a true cosplay, so I woke up early, had to brace myself to put the wig on. I had this white, long, wavy hair wig with bangs, and oh my goodness, bangs are the bane of my existence. As soon as I put it on, I was overstimulated because it was poking into my eyes. I did not trim them until the morning of, so in the morning I was like frantically thinning out and trimming the bangs, just getting ready. It was a lot. But I cosplayed as Turbo Granny from Dan to Dan, and I had a lot of fun in that outfit. Stepping out of my home was a little jarring for the first time because as soon as I stepped out in my little cat ears and my makeup and wig and everything, I crossed paths with this elderly man and elderly woman taking a walk, and the looks that they gave me were just so beyond. They were probably processing like, what is going on, as we're having this nice little stroll. You do what you gotta do. From the moment I got into the con on Saturday, it was so crowded, which is expected because Saturday of any con is going to be the most busy day, but it was so overstimulating and so difficult to get around. I think I had to take a minute or two as soon as I entered the Javits Center to just gather my bearings and breathe a little bit, but we made it in. I beelined over to Artist Alley in order to take a look at some of the sections that I had missed on Thursday and kind of start from the opposite end of the alley and make my way toward the middle. I did manage to meet up with a couple of friends throughout the day, but I did not get very far in my journey through Artist Alley since some booths were just so swarmed, so packed, and the overall energy was like way more chaotic than before, so I kind of wanted to avoid lingering too long just in the alley. I would say Saturday was still a major success though. It was very high energy. I was stopped by some people, and I stopped some other cosplayers in order to take photos. I forget how exciting it is when people recognize you. And so when we're walking through the big crowd, sometimes I'd hear someone whisper like, "Oh, is that Turbo Granny?" And then I'd whip around and I'd be like, "Hey." Just being able to acknowledge each other and be like, "Oh my god, I love your cosplay," or just hit up your favorite characters and ask for photos together. It was super fun. I also took some pictures with the cutest kids and just people in really dope cosplays, so good vibes all around. It was a long day, but a fun day. Now, the highlight of this day was actually the Masquerade. So in previous years, I was not able to make it because I forgot to register for tickets, or I wasn't able to make it to the standby line in time. And this year, my friends on the Baby Bottle Bunch were performing at the halftime show of the Cosplay Masquerade, and I just absolutely could not miss it. So myself and a couple of friends got to the standby line super early for the show. I believe the line opened at like 5:30 or 5:45, while the show started at 7:30. So once all of the ticketed attendees lined up and got in, then they would open the standby section and allow us into the room. We just wanted to guarantee that we would make it in there in order to watch our friends dance and perform. So we got there pretty early. And even though we spent, almost 2 hours sitting, I think it was really fun overall. We were just snacking, kind of sharing our different hauls from the day and different experiences from the con, since everyone was coming from different places. And while we were sitting there, we were all kind of amazed by this one security guard who was taking his job so incredibly seriously. Luckily, we came pretty early and we were able to, gather together. But as the standby line got longer, some people were trying to meet up with their friends toward the front of the line, and Mr. Security Sir was not having it. He would be like barking down the row at people if they were trying to run down toward the line or skip the line. He would be like drill sergeant style, hollering at them, strutting down and like chasing them down. So honestly, he was taking that job real serious. It was impressive to watch. But another reminder that it's good to come early, especially if you're on the standby section. But at 7:30, we made it in. The show itself was so much fun to watch. Basically, the show itself was a combination of custom cosplay displays. The individuals would walk around, highlight their cosplay, their design. The host would be describing how long it took them to work on the cosplay, the intention behind it, some of the techniques that they used, and the materials that they had. So just hearing the amount of work and time and effort and seeing that all come together into the finished piece was so fun. And between some of those pure cosplay displays were performances. So this was another category where people would also be crafting their own cosplay, but they would put together a really creative performance to go along with it. And the scope of these performances just had us gagged. Like, there were so many crossovers. There was Hatsune Miku X Warhammer with a leak gun. There was an Into the Woods sing-along with the witches from Witch Hat Atelier. There was a Miku X AO3 performance. And there was even an Animal Crossing and Pitbull sing-along that had us all singing, like Hotel, Motel, Holiday Inn. We really had something for everyone at this show. Then at last, it was time for the halftime performance, and our friends took the stage. We were hooting and hollering from all the way in the back. The visuals that they had put together were so complimentary to the performance and told such a compelling story as everyone fought to escape the isekai truck-kun. But it was just a blast, and I was so proud of all my friends who performed, so excited to see them give their energy to the crowd and the crowd return that energy. It was a sight to behold. Then after that, we went backstage to gather our friends, kind of collect ourselves, and we headed over to my friend's restaurant, Tomoni, in Woodside. Plug for Tomoni. You should definitely go if you haven't been. The food's amazing. And we held a surprise birthday party for 4 of our friends who are all August babies. And it went really well, but wow, it was such a long day. From the con to the performances to transiting home and making it through an evening of fun socialization. just to do it again the next day. It was exhausting, but would not have wanted it any other way, honestly. So that was Saturday. And Sunday, I woke up and I did not want to put a wig on again, but I decided to go in cosplay for the last day because there's only so many chances that you have to, I don't know, have fun and rep your shows and rep the characters that you love. And I just had so much fun being Turbo Granny on Saturday that I was like, let's run it back. But no skirt this time. We were doing pants and sneakers because my feet were dead after being in heels all day Saturday. So Sunday, got ready. I met up with my friend Lauren on the way over, and we kind of just headed through Artist Alley. I had a couple of things on my list that I had to pick up for friends, and I was kind of scoping out some booths that I highlighted on my phone from the days prior. But one of the things I was most excited to get was a live portrait. So the artist Unlicensed Care Bear had a booth where she was doing live portraits. So she would look at you and just sketch away. And it took no more than 5 minutes, honestly. She's so talented, but I absolutely loved it. I have gotten live portraits or like custom portraits at the last con. I think the last Anime NYC I was at for 2 different cosplays I had done. So while I was dressed as my Electro Slime from Genshin, and when I was dressed as Fern from Frieren, I had gotten some custom work done, and I wanted to just keep that tradition going. So I really love that portrait. Took like 30 minutes online, but it was worth it. Then my other order of business for Sunday was collecting Okaruns and Momos. I was not so good about calling them out and asking for photos on the previous days, but I resolved to take as many selfies as I could if I saw them, or at least try to approach them. So it was really fun to pose with all the different Okaruns and Momos from Dandadan. A really unexpected find was running into Jeffrey the giraffe from Toys R Us. So this one man was dressed in a Jeffrey the giraffe full-sized outfit. His neck was feet above the heads of everyone else, and Lauren and myself chased him down. We were like, Jeffrey, please turn around. Can we have a photo with you? And he was so nice. When he waved or tried to wave with his little hoof hand, he kind of just had to open and close it and it folded over, and it was the funniest thing. So shout out to you, Jeffrey the giraffe. Whoever you are, you brought so much joy to me that day. We ran into a couple other really cool cosplayers. There was one man with an incredible Ho-Oh cosplay from Pokemon, and he just fully committed. He had built out a full wingspan of feathers and this incredible headpiece. I even asked him for a video of his look, and he went straight into posing. Like, he wasted no time, and he hit the poses to really display his cosplay in full effect. So that was cool. Oh, I also had my first run-in with someone who used Meta glasses. So that was a first for me. I had not seen Meta glasses in action in real life, but while I was perusing the upper floor, this dude came up to me and was like, oh, hey, really like your look. Like, would you mind if I took a video, like, dapping you up? And I was like, yeah, sure. And I realized then he was wearing glasses, and I'm like, oh, these are the Meta glasses. So I appreciate that he asked, but then we did, like, a little dap up, and he was like, then you could hit a pose or something. Perfect. Like, it was very quick, very easy. So if you end up seeing me in some type of, like, dapping up baddies or dapping up 10s at Anime NYC compilation, like, let me know. Or if it's like dapping up crazy cat girls, whatever the title is, let me know if I'm in that video. But the thing that scared me was the fact that I could not tell that the glasses were video recording type glasses, you know? Like, maybe it's just because I haven't looked at them enough, and I don't usually give much thought to it if people are wearing glasses, but now I'm kind of paranoid, like, oh, do I have to be looking at people's glasses to make sure that they're not actively taking videos? Because I could not tell at all, and ever since that interaction, now I'm like, I don't love the idea that people can record you at any time. I mean, obviously that dude was asking if he can do it and then telling you so you're aware as it's happening. But I know there are so many stories of people who are getting videos taken without their consent at this point. So it's kind of stressful. Now, on Sunday, I also ended up linking up with friends. We hit some TikToks together, hit some dance moves in a corner. So that was super fun. And the last thing I did before leaving the con was down on the gaming floor. Lauren and I played this game called Lemony Fresh, in which you're controlling a lemon as it rolls through this home, and you're able to hose down areas that are dirty, and you're tidying up, but also uncovering information about, I guess, the people who live there. It was very, very satisfying to clean in this game and to operate as this cute roly-poly lemon. So I will absolutely be checking it out when it releases on Steam next year. Again, the game is called Lemony Fresh. Once we finished our game of Lemony Fresh, we were promptly kicked out of the venue. We met back up together outside near the vessel. We took some more videos together, took some photos, walked to K-Town, debriefed over some food, and that was a wrap for our weekend at ANYC. Overall, extremely, extremely successful con. Through the convention and the events that occurred, I guess, like before and after getting there, I was thinking a lot about the double meaning of convention. So the word convention means two things depending on context. One is a large meeting of people who come to a place for usually several days to talk about their shared work or other interests, or to make decisions as a group. And the other definition of convention is a custom or a way of acting or doing things that is widely accepted and followed. So things like following societal conventions, social norms, doing what is considered to be correct or polite. And these types of conventions mean that even if there are no formal rules documenting what should be done, social conventions lead people to behave in ways that they know will be accepted and that others will recognize as being accepted. And when we think about convention in that sense, so many things fall into that category. Things like manners, traditions, superstitions. For manners, we think of this as the convention of what's considered to be polite in terms of speech, or things like how to use silverware for a meal. Traditions are conventions that are based in historical precedents, things that are connected to symbols of being part of a collective or part of a community through your actions or how you're presenting. And then lastly, superstitions. So these are also conventional beliefs and things that are just widely accepted within a group or a culture. Say like what numbers are considered to be lucky or unlucky. Now, when I was looking into convention and the definition of convention in the social sense, I came across an article by W. David Marks titled, "What is Culture?" There was a really great excerpt that I wanted to read here. So Marks says, "Conventions are tied to expectations. Our brains prefer when other people meet our expectations because this means we don't have to expend extra mental energy on thinking through alternatives. When others disappoint our expectations, we become frustrated and angry, even in times when the underlying behavior has no material impact on us. We then convert these emotional responses, either positive or negative, into outward expressions." And so meeting expectations is usually met with a positive response, while failing to meet expectations creates poor interactions or ill will. Now, I was thinking about convention because at conventions like ANYC, these are places where people with shared interests and understanding gather. There's a sense of shared culture, norms, expectations, things like cosplaying, asking people for their consent for photos, being mindful of others, being kind, encouraging, and contributing to a safe space to express yourself and nerd out. I think, especially while on the way to and from the con, there was a very clear understanding or clear visualization of, oh, wow, the average normie person is actively perceiving you with mixed opinions. Because granted, not everyone knows where you're going or like what the deal is with the event and like why you're dressed up. But in the end, you're looking like you came straight out of a show, and everyone else is just dressed for, I guess, an average Saturday. In New York especially, I grew up with the sense of freedom of expression, and I personally expect anything, even on the average given day, but it's still so interesting to see other people's reactions and how startled or transfixed some people can be at anyone who's deviating from, I guess, the social norm of looking a certain way or expressing themselves visually in unique ways. In this case, that presents as multicolored wigs, long ears, or furry ears, extravagant makeup, bright colors, large headpieces, tons of layers of clothing, or unique shoes. But to me, the convention in New York especially is people being unconventional. And I've been talking to friends recently separately about this, how style has regressed a little bit, in my opinion, as a collective. And especially when you're walking in places like, I don't know, Soho or even just downtown, I feel like the collective style has morphed into something so, I'm losing the words for it right now, but it's so monotonous. I feel like we're losing the sense of individuality that used to be so pervasive in New York, and everyone kind of looks the same. I might be guilty of this too. I personally want to incorporate a lot more color, like boldness, more patterns in my wardrobe, but I feel like we need to reclaim that energy and move away from this clean look or like monotone look, unless you personally love it and that's your style and your expression, like do it. But I think on a bigger scale, we're losing that energy of self-expression, and we need to get back to it. Plus, I think the world would be a better place if we just operate from a place of acceptance, right? Like people can wear whatever they want, they can look however they want, they can decorate their body and their hair and whatever they adorn themselves with, however they choose to. So don't yuck people's yum unless they're being harmful or problematic. Everything else, let people be. Really, what led me to thinking through all of this was just that stark contrast in leaving the bubble of the con and going back into the city, or leaving home before coming into the bubble of the con, and just being amongst people who are like totally not in the in-group of knowing what's going on, and who kind of at times can come across as more judgmental at the other. I think we need to reduce that if we can. If we find ourselves in a position where we're judging people, we have to think, like, why? Like, what does this actually say about me, instead of the person who's triggering this response? Going back to the con itself, I realized that one of the reasons I had such a good time overall was the energy, right? I think so many people were so positive. Everyone was very quick to compliment other people's cosplays. If someone was cosplaying as a character that they personally loved, they would be loud and proud to say something, or they would tap the person asking for a photo, or just calling out that they loved a certain detail about their look. And I think that was so beautiful. I think people were just so excited to be there. They were very warm and welcoming. And I was thinking on the way home from day 4, or I guess my day 3 of the con, was how can I evoke some of that con energy outside of a con environment? So as I thought through this, I think the most important takeaways would be, 1, if you see something positive, say something, because in this economy, I think compliments are one of the few free things we have left. Genuine compliments, or even some of those quick interactions, hold a lot more value than you think. One example of this was I ran into 2 people dressed as soot sprites, and I thought to myself, oh my god, I love their outfits, but I held back on like running over to them, and I immediately regretted it once I lost them from my view. But after looping through Artist Alley, I saw them again, and I didn't want to waste the opportunity, so I came up to them and I was like, hi guys, I love your outfit, it's so cute, you guys look amazing. And they were just the sweetest duo. They were so enthusiastic. They like complimented my look as well, and we took photos together. But all this to say, if I didn't say anything and I didn't follow through on the compliment that was in my heart and my spirit to give, then we wouldn't have had that nice interaction. And even when people stopped me and complimented my cosplay throughout the weekend, it really just tickled me, and made my heart so warm. I felt so seen, and regardless of if it was a passing comment or if someone asked for a photo, it really meant so much. So you never know just how powerful your words can be and how important it is to just share what's on your heart. I think not everything also has to hold the weight of a full conversation, because sometimes just someone dropping a compliment and keeping it pushing like really did all it needed to do, and that was still seen as a success. The other answer I had to that question of how can I evoke con energy outside the con was really leaning into self-expression. I personally was inspired to make more art and go back to drawing because it's something that I pick up every now and again, but after seeing what people are doing with just like a pen or a pencil or a tablet and a stylus, like they're creating. So I want to create more too. Even if I don't want to claim the title of artist, it's like everyone has something that they could make and express. So I just want to do more of that. I also think that it's so important to love your interests loud and proud, and you'll find people who have that same energy and will like echo it back to you. Energy is really the most infectious thing. When people come together and, had a conversation over the same character, the same show, energy is really infectious. I think when people are committed to something, it can be so inspiring. So just let your energy ricochet off of you, and it'll basically be a honing symbol for other people to find you and reflect similar energy back into you. Now, the last note I had was, since this whole episode was about going to an anime convention, I wanted to briefly highlight what I've been watching. Looking back this past year, I have watched or really enjoyed watching the second season of Frieren. Incredible show. I actually cosplayed as Fern with my friend Amanda. She was Frieren 2 years ago. That was a fantastic cosplay. I watched the Apothecary Diaries, great second season. I was watching Spy Family. I watched Sakamoto Days. Another one that I enjoyed from earlier in the year was Kaya-chan Isn't Scary. It's a really good show, actually, if you haven't seen it already. And more recently, I started Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood because I was just recommended it by so many people for so long, I couldn't avoid it any longer. A recent slice of life that I enjoyed was Smoking Behind the Supermarket with You. It is so sweet. The episodes are so short, and the storyline and the connection is so fun to watch. So if you're into a light watch, that one could be for you. And in terms of what's next, after the con, there were so many, I hope I'm saying this right, but Gachiyakuda? Yes, that show. There were so many cosplayers from that show, so it made me want to watch it, and I started watching the first couple episodes last night. It's a really cool premise, and I'm excited to keep it going and finish it out. With all that being said, I had an amazing time at the con. I'm grateful for all the friends I got to see and frolic with, all the purchases I made, and most importantly, for the dose of happiness and inspiration I got from the con that is going to carry me on for a while. I think the other takeaway here is that social conventions are kind of not real. So be sure to express yourself, don't let fear of judgment temper your whimsy, and give someone a compliment whenever the thought comes to you. Thank you so much for listening to Longing Mind. If you like this episode, please follow and maybe even share it with someone you know. I'll catch you in the next one.